So students, let us start with part 3 of chapter 3, Inheritance and Variation. I had already taught you about monohybrid cross. Let us do a brief revision about it. So what is a monohybrid cross? It is a cross between two pure homozygous parents in which inheritance pattern of only one pair of contrasting character is studied. So cross between two pure homozygous parents and only one pair of contrasting characters is studied. So it is a monohybrid cross. Now, Mendel performed this monohybrid cross in 3 steps. The step 1 was he selected pure line breeds. For example, a tall pea plant as female and a dwarf pea plant as male. He made sure that they are pure breeding by for 3 generations. He raised them again and again. He discarded the other character and thus he got or obtained pure breeds. Second step was he performed artificial cross. So first was he obtained pure line breeds. Second was he performed artificial cross. This he did by emasculation. Emasculation, again I repeat, it is nothing but removal of anthers before anthesis, so the plant or the flower can be treated as a female. He collected the seeds, he sowed them again. He thought that F1 generation will be 50% tall and 50% dwarf, but to his surprise, he saw that all the plants were tall. The third step was that he allowed the F1 generation to undergo natural selfing. This is important. And he saw that the result in F2 generation in this way. So he selected one pair of contrasting character, tall and dwarf. Genotype was this was genotype of the parent, that is capital small t of the dwarf. They were pure breeding. So this is the phenotype of the F1 generation. Yeah. Meiosis occurred, gametes form were capital T small t. F1 generation were capital T small t. Here is the second step of emasculation and hybridization. After that, he allowed it to undergo selfing. So this is the third step. He allowed it to undergo selfing. This was a monohybrid. All the plants produced were tall to his surprise. In F2 generation, again when gametes were formed, capital T, small t separated from one another. And when capital T came together, it formed a tall plant. So if we see the phenotypic ratio, tall will be 1 tall, 2 tall, though it is a heterozygous tall. This is heterozygous tall. This should be tall. Okay. So there are 3 tall and there is 1 dwarf. Thus, the phenotypic ratio is 3 is to 1. Whereas the genotypic ratio, it is capital T 1. So this is capital T, which is 1. Capital T small t are 2. So capital T small t are 2 and small t dwarf is 1. So the genotypic ratio is 1 is to 2 is to 1. We had already done this. It is a revision for you. So what was the conclusion? He saw that in F2 generations, total plants produced were 1064, out of which 787 were tall and 277 were dwarf. He thought this is due to female dominance. So he carried out a reciprocal cross. He took the tall plant as male now and a dwarf plant as a female. So he did opposite. He repeated the procedure, but he got the similar results. That is in F1 generation, again all the plants were tall, and F2 generation he got the phenotypic ratio as 3 is to 1, that is 3/4 plants were tall and 1/4 were dwarf. He carried out this experiment for all different 7 traits and he found the same type of results, that the phenotypic ratio is 3 is to 1. Thus he concluded factor is the unit of heredity. This is very very important what I'm explaining now, because a question can be asked, what is the conclusion? So he concluded factor is the unit of heredity. He did not knew the term gene that time. Characters as height, seed, shape, color are inherited separately. They do not mix with each other. Each factor has 2 alternative forms, tall, dwarf, round, wrinkled. That now we call them as they are allelic pairs, correct? One trait is always dominant. In this case, which we studied right now, tall was dominant and the other is recessive, that is dwarfness. In an organism, inheritance of each character is controlled by a pair of factors. Yes, tallness was represented by capital T, capital T. So it was a pair of factors. Dwarfness was represented by small t, small t. So it is a pair of factor. Last video we had seen yellow was represented by capital Y, capital Y. Wrinkled was represented by small y, small y. And out of this one is coming from the male partner and other comes from the female parent. So one is paternal, one is maternal. He also concluded that F1 hybrids factors do not mix with each other and the dwarfness reappears in F2 generation. This is very important. When in hybrid, monohybrid capital T is with small t, they don't mix with each other. They remain separate and therefore when gametes are formed, they segregate from each other and therefore in F2 generation again T small t is with small t represents dwarf character. Factors segregate while forming gametes. The organism that receives the recessive factor from both the parents expresses the recessive trait. For example, in last example, when small t came together, they represented as a dwarf plant. So, what was the phenotypic and genotypic ratio for monohybrid cross? Phenotypic for all Mendelian monohybrid crosses is 3 is to 1. All means here all the 7 varieties. Whereas the genotypic ratio, it came to be 1 is to 2 is to 1. That is 1 pure tall, 2 hybrid talls and 1 pure dwarf. Now, from his monohybrid cross, he proposed, Mendel proposed the first law of dominance. Let us see what it is. It is the first law of inheritance. It explains that in a cross between two organisms, pure for any pairs. For example, we took capital T, small t. We took two organisms, one tall plant, one dwarf plant. And it was contrasting in which character? It was contrasting in the character of height. So the character that appears in F1 generation, in this case, which was the character that appeared in F1 generation? Tallness. So tall appeared in F1 generation. It is the dominant character. And the character which is suppressed is a recessive character. So here tallness was dominant and dwarf was recessive. Examples of dominant trait. Black coat of guinea pigs over white. What is a guinea pig? Any experimental animal is called as a guinea pig. But here, black coat of guinea pig, when we are saying, we are talking about rats because they are the common guinea pigs used for as experimental animals. So black coat color in rats is very much common over white or albino rats. Curly hairs we had seen last time also. It is dominant over straight. Brown eyes is dominant over blue green. Pearly jawar is dominant over chalky jawar. Pearly jawar, pearl color jawar is dominant over the hybrid variety, that is the chalky jawar, white jawar. However, there are many cases where dominance is not complete or it is absent, that we will study in next video. But I hope you have understood what is Mendel's first law. When two organisms for pure characters are of, and we are considering one pair of contrasting character in this case across with each other in F1 generation, one character is expressing itself, that character is called as dominant, and one remains suppressed, that is called as the recessive character. Now we will study about incomplete and codominance in next PPT. Let us see what is the importance of dominance. If the characters which are harmful and if they are recessive, they can be masked. For example, in case of hemophilia, hemophilia is caused due to a recessive gene which is present on the X chromosome and it is masked if it is in presence of a dominant H normal gene for normal clotting factor. Thus, recessive characters which are harmful can be masked, can be hidden with the dominant character. Similar case in color blindness, diabetes, or a form of idiocy. Law of dominance is significant, but it is not universally applicable. It is significant, it is true, but not in all cases. How, we will see in next video. Let us see about the second law which Mendel proposed from his first monohybrid cross. He proposed the second law which is called as the law of segregation. It is also called as law of purity of gametes. He says that members in an allelic pair in a hybrid, in our case, what was the hybrid in our tall and dwarf example? Capital T, small t was our hybrid, monohybrid. They remain together. The tall gene for tallness and the gene for dwarfness remain together without mixing with each other. Capital T will not influence small t will not influence capital T. They remain together. And when gametes are formed, they separate, yeah, they segregate. Capital T segregates, small t segregates or separates from each other during gamete formation. And as they do not mix with each other, this law is called as law of purity because they remain pure. Capital T remain pure for which variety, which trait? Tallness. Whereas small t remain pure for which trait? For dwarfness. So again I repeat, members in an allelic pair, in a hybrid, this was hybrid, members were capital T small t, they remain together, yeah, they are remaining together without mixing with each other, and they separate from each other when gametes are formed. Thus gametes receive only one or two factors and are pure for a given trait. Therefore, this law is also called as law of purity of gametes. Both laws are important. In exam, they can be asked for 2 marks. You cannot change the wordings. You have to state the law. If possible, give examples also. All sexually reproducing organisms are diploid in nature and the gametes are haploid in nature. Yeah, we know this. This law is universally applicable. It was not at all um, proved wrong. So it is universally applicable. Whereas the first law of dominance, it is not universally applicable. How we will see in the next video. Now let us see what is a back cross and a test cross. Let us see these definitions. A cross of F1 hybrid. So what was our F1 hybrid in monohybrid cross? Capital T, small t. With one of its parents, homozygous dominant parent or homozygous recessive parent. So if we are crossing this with a dominant parent, that is capital T, which is homozygous dominant, correct? Or we are crossing this hybrid with a homozygous recessive. Who was the homozygous recessive? Small t. Both crosses are back crosses. Please try to understand. Cross of F1 hybrid, capital T small t with either homozygous dominant parent or homozygous recessive parent, it is called as a back cross. But if a cross is between F1 hybrid, that is capital T small t with only homozygous recessive, who is the homozygous recessive parent? Small t. Only in this case, the back cross is called as a test cross. Question is asked, why all test crosses are back crosses but back crosses are not test crosses? Because test cross is a cross which is a cross between only hybrid and the homozygous recessive parent. Please understand. If the cross is between hybrid and homozygous dominant, it is a back cross but it is not a test cross. How? Why? Let us see. Now, let us see the first case. What was our F1 hybrid? It was capital T, small t. What was our the dominant parent? Capital T, capital T. What will be the gametes form? Here it will be capital T, small t. Here the gametes will be capital T, capital T. Now let us see what happens in the next generation if they are crossed. Capital T, the gametes from here, and capital T, small t, the gametes from here. Okay, correct. Now when capital T comes, it forms a tall plant. Capital T comes, forms a tall plant. Capital T small t, it also forms a tall plant, though it is a heterozygous condition. Then also phenotype is it is a tall plant, and the fourth case also tall. So 100% tall plants are produced, and therefore this type of a cross with a homozygous dominant parent is not a test cross. It is only a what type of a cross? It is just a back cross. It is not a test cross, because again the question arises, कि, अरे all are tall, so we cannot identify the genotype of the F1 hybrid. Actually, why are the test crosses done? Test crosses are done to identify genotype of the F1 hybrid. Let us see the another case. We can divide this into two. Here, F1 hybrid is capital T small t. Our recessive parent was small t small t. Here gametes formed are small t small t. Here capital T small t. So these are the gametes formed by the recessive parent. These are by the monohybrid. Now when we obtain, what do we see? Capital T small t, it's a tall plant. Capital T small t, tall plant. But then we get small t dwarf, small t dwarf. So we get 50% tall and 50% dwarf plants. Such type of a cross, it is both. It is a back cross also, and it is a test cross also, because in this case we can identify when we get 50 is to 50 phenotypic ratio, 1 is to 1, that is nothing but 1 is to 1 ratio, we can identify, yes, our F1 hybrid is a heterozygous plant. So I hope you have followed. Both are back crosses, but only with the homozygous recessive parent, it is a test cross. Now again in an example, one more example I'll give you to see the test cross. Now suppose we have a plant. The phenotype is known. dominant phenotype. Suppose it is a purple color flower. Okay, we can see that the flower is purple, but we do not know what is the genotype. To identify the genotype, we are going to do the test cross. Now, suppose we consider that the genotype of this flower, it is dominant. It is dominant, it is purple, so it will be suppose WW. And we are crossing it with the homozygous recessive parent. What do we see? All plants, all flowers produce are violet. So we can consider purple, that is violet. Now all are violet, so again we cannot identify the genotype of F1 hybrid. Thus, this is not a test cross. It is just a back cross. But now suppose we are considering that this is a heterozygous plant, capital W, small w, and if we are crossing it with the recessive parent, we get 50% flowers as violet and 50% as white. Thus, we can say that this flower, unknown flower, what is the genotype of the unknown flower? It is heterozygous. Why we are saying it is heterozygous? Because what type of ratio are we getting in the test cross? 1 is to 1. 50% flowers are violet and 50% flowers are white. So whenever we perform a test cross, we should get ratio 1 is to 1 for a monohybrid cross. Mendel devised this cross to verify genotype of F1 hybrid, F2 or F3 hybrids. Because if hybrid is tall, it is not sure if the hybrid is a homozygous tall or a heterozygous tall, so we perform test cross. Always remember the ratio which is obtained in a monohybrid test cross is 1 is to 1. For a dihybrid test cross, it will be 1 is to 1 is to 1 is to 1. And if we are performing the same test cross for a trihybrid test, it will be 1 is to 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 1. That is 8 times. Okay. So this is about the test cross. So here I am stopping. Next video we'll talk about the dihybrid cross and we'll also study the third law of Mendel. Thank you. Do revise and repeat the video till you understand. Thank you.